The day I became the most reviled man in Crystal Shores was the day I claimed its soul, the 23-acre lake every resident believed was theirs. It started with a $500 fine for fishing solo on my own dock, a spark that ignited a war ending with me holding the deed to the water that defined our 847-acre Florida haven. The woman who thought she could force me to bend? She'd learned some victories cost more than pride. Let me tell you about Linda Carver, the HOA president who ruled our gated community with an iron grip. Imagine a woman whose power came from the violation notices she issued daily, and you'll see why I now legally controlled every drop in our pristine lake. But before I explain how I made the most domineering HOA leader in Florida beg me not to drain her precious lake, you need to grasp the shaky ground community associations often stand on. My name is James Larson, a water rights attorney with 15 years of untangling overreaching claims by municipalities and private groups. I know property law like a musician knows scales, every note, every gap, every way to break a bad deal. My wife, Emily, used to say I could find a loophole in a brick wall. She wasn't wrong. 3 years ago, we moved to Crystal Shores, chasing quiet lakefront life where our 8-year-old daughter, Lily, could bike safely. The development sprawled over Florida wetlands, its heart a dazzling lake that shimmered like a gem at sunrise. Every home had lake access, with the HOA vowing eternal protection. They didn't mention that protection meant control tighter than a vice. The lake was my escape. After days wrestling clients who thought they could skirt environmental laws, I'd cast a line from my dock. It wasn't the fish though the bass were hefty, it was the peace. The water's soft ripple, the lure's gentle splash, the sky melting into hues of fire. Lily sometimes joined, clutching her green fishing rod, asking why the water changed colors. But that fall, with Lily in school and Emily buried in teaching, I fished alone. I'd done so for 34 years, since my dad showed me how in a Georgia stream. It was my solitude, my right. Linda Carver saw it differently. I met Linda at the HOA orientation, where she lectured for an hour on community standards like a prophet delivering commandments. Mid-50s, with hair in a severe bun and a habit of standing like she was addressing a courtroom, she spoke of the covenants as gospel. "The lake is our treasure," she proclaimed, voice sharp as a blade. "Every rule safeguards it and our lifestyle." I nodded, thinking rules like no loud music or unapproved tournaments were standard. But Linda's idea of enforcement was anything but. Trouble struck one October evening as I worked a lure near a submerged log. Footsteps thudded behind me, and there was Linda, clipboard ready, face set like I'd defaced her palace. "Mr. Larson," she snapped, "we need to talk about your fishing." I reeled in, keeping calm. "What's the problem, Linda?" She scanned her clipboard like it held my fate. "Your activities violate our covenants." I'd read those covenants like a contract lawyer. Fishing from my dock was unrestricted beyond state laws. "Which rule?" I asked, setting my rod down. Her finger jabbed at her notes. "Section 4.7. Recreational activities must foster community harmony. Your solo fishing hogs the space and sends an antisocial message." I stared, stunned by the absurdity. "You're saying fishing alone breaks the rules?" Her smile was icy. "It's against our values. Fish with neighbors or at community events." My lawyer instinct screamed, but I stayed polite. "There's no legal basis for this, Linda." Her smile sharpened. "This isn't a courtroom, Mr. Larson. As president, I enforce compliance. Defy this, and we'll explore consequences." She left, and I knew this was about power, not fishing. That night, I scoured the covenants. Section 4.7 was vague, tucked in rules about group events, perfect for manipulation. No ban on solo fishing, but no clear protection either. I dove into Florida property law and HOA cases. Linda's claim wouldn't survive a judge, but fighting it would cost thousands and months her exact plan. Most residents would fold, and she'd done this before, tightening her hold one fine at a time. But I wasn't most residents. I kept fishing alone, baiting her to act. Linda responded with surveillance, snapping photos from the community path, scribbling notes like a low-rent detective. In November, a certified letter arrived, a 3-page violation notice with photos, timestamps, and a $500 fine for harmful solo fishing, demanding I join others or stick to HOA events. I read it twice, noting every legal flaw. I paid the fine not out of surrender, but to build a record and let her think she'd won. That $500 was my best investment. As Linda logged my violations, I researched Crystal Shore's legal routes. With access to specialized databases, I found gold. The lake's water rights were never transferred to the HOA by the dissolved developer. They were dormant, claimable by someone like me. I spent weeks building a claim surveys, environmental studies, maintenance plans costing $8,000, but bulletproof. On a Friday in December, I filed it. By Monday, I owned the lake. To drive the point home, I sent every resident a letter on my firm's letterhead, declaring my ownership and new rules. No fishing, swimming, or boating without my approval, with fees that'd dwarf their mortgages. I pinned it on Linda's overreach, urging residents to confront her. Her copy came with a notice to cease unauthorized lake management. The backlash was electric. My phone buzzed with furious residents, some outraged, some baffled, a few cheering my defiance. At 9:45 a.m., Linda called, voice taut with panic. "This is harassment, James. The lake is ours." I offered legal proof, which she rejected. "This is about your fine, isn't it? You're punishing us." I stayed cool. "No, Linda, it's about authority. You enforced rules on a lake you don't own." Her tone shifted to desperation. "What do you want? Money? An apology?" I paused, savoring the moment. "You harassed me for months over my property, claiming power you didn't have. Now, residents follow my rules." Wednesday's emergency HOA meeting was a firestorm. Linda called me a villain, but residents turned on her, airing years of grievances. When a neighbor asked why she didn't know the lake was an HOA property, her silence buried her. A 47-8 vote ousted her, and she quit the next day. The following weekend, Linda approached my dock, no clipboard, just a gift basket and humility. "I was wrong," she said, eyes down. "I thought I was protecting the community, but it was my control." I took the basket, honey, cookies, a card from thankful residents, and nodded. "This was about legal rights, Linda, not fishing." She left, a shadow of her former self. The new HOA board offered to buy back the lake rights, covering my costs and agreeing to protect individual rights. I sold, demanding covenants barring HOA control over private dock activities. By February, it was done, and Crystal Shores found calm. Linda faded into the background, Lily mastered her cast, and I fished alone, my rights secure. Linda's fine cost her everything and gave the community stronger protections. The lake, once her tool, became a symbol of fighting tyranny with knowledge. If you faced an HOA drunk on power, share your story below. Sometimes, the best revenge is knowing the law better than those who wield it.